Ian Fleming's 007 is a beloved fictional character, and we've seen him come to life on screen multiple times, all thanks to the actors who took up this role and delivered just what we were promised. Well, we just found out that we could have seen Sam Heughan play James Bond, but it looks like it wasn't meant to be. The actor recently discussed this, and today we'll be covering everything we know about it. First up, Sam Heughan opens up about auditioning for the role of 007. So the Scottish actor's written a memoir which came out on the 25th of October, and while there's a lot to go over in the book itself, today we'll just be focusing on one thing: how once upon a time Sam was offered to play the role of James Bond. Yep, we're just as surprised as you are. Simply imagine how the entire history of the James Bond franchise would have been different if they'd cast Heughan. The 42-year-old actor details all the specifics of that experience and how eventually he wasn't given the role because the casting directors didn't find him edgy enough. We'll be covering all of that and more. Up next, here's how the Scottish actor described his audition experience. Okay, the James Bond movie that he auditioned for happened to be Casino Royale. We had Daniel Craig play 007 in that one, and to think that it could have been him. Yeah, our minds crashed just trying to imagine that, and we're sure it's the same for you. Moving on, there are some great details that we get about the whole audition in his memoir, which is called Waypoints: My Scottish Journey, in case y'all are looking to buy. He goes on to explain how the whole process was turned into this incredibly mysterious thing, and that at one point, it felt like someone had dropped him smack dab in the middle of an action spy movie. Even though Sam ended up not bagging that role, he admitted it was a pretty good experience. After all, it's quite a catch being able to tell people, even if it's years down the road, that you auditioned for Bond. Now, for how this handsome 42-year-old wasn't edgy enough to play James Bond. Well, we're done talking about how the famous actor of Outlander fame went for an audition for a James Bond movie. Let's talk about why he wasn't given the role. Apparently, the casting directors didn't find him suitable for a 007 role, and the reason they gave was he wasn't edgy enough. Yep, that's the exact word that they used. Now, we're not precisely sure if we'd use the word edgy to describe all the actors who played James Bond, but if that's what the casting directors were looking for, then who are we to judge? We do think that the feedback is pretty unclear for an actor, don't you? Even if someone's being rejected, shouldn't they be told what they need to work on to improve? Because how on earth does a person try to be more edgy? A little direction would have been good in this case. Let's take a look at Sam's meeting with the producer as well as the director of Casino Royale. Alright, so after Sam had the audition with the casting directors, he went on to attend a meeting with producer Barbara Broccoli and director Martin Campbell. He admitted that he was nervous about this meeting, so much so that he started to sweat, poor guy. But he had nothing to worry about because Barbara was pretty polite and friendly, but still the actor thought that something was up. Basically, he thought that he might end up in some sort of a car chase while he was headed home. What? So when he said that the whole thing felt like a setup, is this what he meant? He really thought he was in an actual spy movie. Moving on, how the Scot handled the news of the role being given to someone else. Of course, actors show up for plenty of auditions, and no matter how seasoned they are, sometimes they're just not the right fit for the role. It's times like these when they have to deal with rejection. In Sam's case, we think he handled it pretty well. We'll tell you why we're saying this. The actor opened up about how he actually appreciates all kinds of criticism when it comes to his acting because look, that's just one way of bringing about necessary improvements and mastering the craft. But for the James Bond audition, it seemed like it wasn't about the acting per se. In fact, it happened to be about the character quality. Looks like they thought he couldn't do justice to the fictional spy character because he lacked the edgy personality. The 42-year-old thinks that perhaps it was more about possessing enough self-confidence to execute the role properly, and he admitted that back then he was certainly lacking that. Guess there's always a right time for everything. Back then it wasn't the right time for him to play Bond, and that's completely okay. He still had a pretty promising acting career. Coming up, Sam's admiration for other actors who've played the famous fictional spy. Everyone loves James Bond. The catch, everyone also has a favorite Bond actor. We've seen such variety that it's hard to pick one, but looks like the Outlander star definitely knows who he likes best. While talking about the whole experience, the actor told Entertainment Weekly that at this point, almost every British actor has been considered to play 007, but he'd like to see a Scot take on that role. It would be great to see how that would turn out, no? Personally, Sam preferred Timothy Dalton, who played Bond in The Living Daylights, and the entire reason the Scottish actor loved him was how he carried a kind of darkness around him when playing the role. That certainly makes it interesting, and even adds more depth to the character. We love seeing actors add such personal touches to the roles they play, but Dalton's still not his absolute favorite. That place belongs to Sir Sean Connery, the first ever actor to play James Bond. And guess what, guys? He was Scottish, so we understand the kinship Sam must feel here. In light of all this, let's look at the ongoing speculation about who could be the next James Bond. So the last James Bond movie was released back in 2021, No Time to Die, and we saw Daniel Craig take on the role of 007. Ever since then, the rumor mill has been active, churning out name after name of actors who could play the role. It's always fun trying to guess who it could be. We've got a list of actors who we think might just be the right one to play the famous spy. Without further ado, let's get to the list that we made just for you. Following up, our first contender is none other than Bridgerton actor Regé-Jean Page. Ever since Regé-Jean Page appeared in Bridgerton, he's had all of us absolutely smitten. We saw him play quite the role of a villain in the Netflix movie The Gray Man, so we can for sure say the man's got range. Now, it would be absolutely exciting to see him as Bond. The Russo brothers, directors of The Gray Man, seem to share the same opinion. According to them, Page would be a killer as the famous spy, and we gotta say we agree. Page carries a lot of charm, and that's something that draws people to him. We're kinda hoping he does end up with the role. Let's look at the second man on our list, Henry Cavill. So we've seen Cavill play Superman. Maybe it's his time to shine as a super spy too, but it looks like this isn't going to be possible. The reason is that Cavill is going to return as Superman for the DC Extended Universe project, so he's going to be too occupied to juggle so many projects. It's a sad thing, but we definitely would have loved to see him play 007. Well, at least we're seeing Superman return. Next up, we've got people rooting for Idris Elba. The never-ending list of British actors who've been picked to play James Bond. Are we even surprised that it includes Idris Elba? The man's got style, and he would give his best if he ends up being the next Bond. Experts say that there's an 18.25% chance that we'll see Elba in the next famous spy movie. Let's see how much truth there is in that figure. Likely it won't happen because in a recent interview with the Wall Street Journal, the actor confessed that he doesn't see himself playing the role. Well, a way of squashing our hopes. Last but not least, now there's a slight chance it could be the Venom actor Tom Hardy. Finally, we've got Tom Hardy. He's classy enough for the suave character, so why not? For the longest time, the grapevine has had us believe that he is it for the role, so maybe going with the flow would be best. Let's wait and see what happens. And that's a wrap for this video. Do you think Sam Heughan would have made a great James Bond? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.